Bluesky is it's become a social network.
Oh,
it was not conceived to be that way. A lot of people see it as the Twitter alternative, open Twitter, free Twitter, whatever.
It uses,
right?
What it connects to. What is that?
Yeah. So where it started inside of Twitter, the idea was Jack Dorsey said, "Hey, we need to build a new platform upon which Twitter can run."
Okay.
And we believe he was just posting something. And he said it needs to be open, like open source and federatable and,
that's what I was thinking about. Yeah,
extensible and all those things so that the platform isn't like beholden to like the company or whatever. And this woman, Jay Graber, who is now Bluesky's CEO, was on board as a programmer at Twitter, started her career as a digital policy advocate, and got into building decentralized social protocols. So she replied to this post of Jackson, said, "Yes, I'm interested," and joined a group of people that were talking about this concept, and kept talking about it, and they decided that it should be owned separately from Twitter. It should be broken off so that the platform isn't in order to keep the platform from being influenced by the corporate direction of Twitter. The platform should be its own thing. And Twitter for a short period of time had a board seat at Bluesky, but that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay.
So it's its own platform.
Yeah.
Yep. Obviously Twitter has yet to, or X now, like things changed in terms of how Twitter was owned. Obviously it was taken private by Elon Musk, right?
Yes.
So it's not, Elon Musk's X is not using the Bluesky platform.
Got it. Right.
Whether they do someday or not, I mean, the current direction would be surprising if he chose to do that, but who knows? You never know. You never know. Right. Yeah, exactly. But the app that we know of as Bluesky was really just built as sort of a placeholder, a test bed to test the platform that they were building. And then people started joining it, and it was like, oh, and then the things happened with Twitter, and the people that weren't happy with what was going on at Twitter is like, well, maybe Bluesky is a good place to go because Jack Dorsey, is behind it. It's got some legs, and there's 30-something million people on it now, and it just keeps growing. So there was this keynote. It was an interview. Jay Graber was being interviewed by Mike Masnick from TechDirt, who has been a big Bluesky user and was part of that sort of working group initially as people were sort of throwing out ideas and all that stuff. But yeah, it started in December 2019 when Jack Dorsey said Twitter is funding a protocol that Twitter will run on eventually. And it's interesting, right? Because it is this federatable network.
What does that mean? Explain to our listeners what that means.
Right. So what that means is everybody can run their own Bluesky server instance if you want.
So like what do they call that game? Roblox or Minecraft or you get a virtual server, so to speak, somewhere?
No. You would run you could get a virtual server, but you do it however you want. And then And it's like what's happening with Mastodon, and they're similar in a lot of ways and different in some. But what it means is like you could run your own Bluesky server. I could run my own Bluesky server, and I could say I want to run a Bluesky server that is for musicians, and you could run one that's for people in the auction world, and then you and I and everybody else that runs servers gets to decide. Do I want to federate with Shannon's people?
I see.
And if I'm okay with who your people are, it's like, okay, yeah, no problem. Right?
You as the admin can decide to carry it or not. Okay.
And the idea is everybody federates with everybody else that they want to federate with, which for the most part is everybody else. But there's no one sort of truth. And that means if you decide to take your server down, well, those people could move to another server, and still communicate with the infrastructure. And that's the big deal. And Bluesky is built out that way too. You control your own content. You can, move it somewhere else if you want to. And they're doing interesting things with the platform. The moderation on it is kind of one of the most interesting things. And I've had a Bluesky account for a while, and I never quite realized this. Moderation, and when I say moderation, I mean the filtering of posts, right? What you see, what you don't want to see. It's all done by plugins, essentially. I don't know that they call them plugins, but they call them labelers, right? Where you build an engine that will look at the content and label it. This has expletives in it. This is pictures of cats. Okay. This is whatever you want to do. You can build these labelers, and there's tons that are sort of pre-built, but there's also anybody can build a labeler. That's fine. You could have a thing that labels content that has politics in it. You could have one that labels this appears to be AI generated images versus pictures that people have taken or whatever. And then you can turn on and off these labelers as you see fit. So like Jay Graber was using the example. She's like, sometimes if I just am using the platform to test it for things that we're doing, she's like, I turn on the politics filter because I don't want to get sucked in. She's like, I like, getting sucked into the politics, but not when I'm trying to work, So she'll filter it down to things that are more for her mundane, right? So that she can actually just test the app without getting distracted.
Sure.
And she says sometimes on like a day off or something, she filters it so that the only thing she sees is, what does she call it? Cats or something. It's just like pictures of cats. Sure. There is this filter out there.
I seem to recall Jack Dorsey talking about how you should be able to select the algorithm this sounds like this in action, right?
Yeah, these labelers are just algorithms, and you're picking which ones you put in place.
And I would say, and I mentioned this before, like I couldn't use X before until you were like, look, here's how you do it. Mark these posts not relevant. You had to train the algorithm.
Yes.
Because I don't see, like on my feed, all I really see are business related, entrepreneurship, and that kind of thing. I see nothing else. Now I have another account that I go and log into that's like the Crazy Town, right?
Crazy Town. Yes. That's the only way to do it on X.
Because otherwise it makes it you're trying to go get some work done or do some things, and it's just overwhelming. So that's awesome. That sounds great.
No, it's interesting. And what Jay talked about, because Mike asked her, well, how are you dealing with toxicity? And she said, well, that's it. Like, it's a choose your own adventure. Yeah. You define who can interact with you, who you can interact with, and you can even, if you wind up in a quote post, which was like a reply thread that gets off the rails and you can extract yourself from those, which is great. And if you're dissatisfied, you build your own alternative. Yeah. Like, that's part of the thing. And so that forces Bluesky to be incentivized to keep serving users, because they've made it easy for you to leave.
Yeah, I like that.
Right? Yeah, it's baked into the business model, which I love.
I do too. And it allows you to decide what's toxic, and you to decide what what.
You decide what's toxic or enjoyable.
Or enjoyable. So
you and I might choose polar opposites, and that's okay.
Correct. And maybe that solves for the polarization, right? Where people are arguing so much. It's like, hey, why are you arguing? You don't have to see this.